Shalom, welcome. This evening it is a few hours after Yom Ha'atzmaut, the Independence Day of Medinat Yisrael. Here in Eretz Yisrael, it's a day of celebration and also a day of contemplation, of gratitude. And there are many people also who are not so happy with this day. They have their reasons, their logic, their teachers, and we allow for all opinions, because that's part of living in a broad-based society. However, I thought to ask myself a question about what would the Kabbalah say about Yom Ha'atzmaut, the day of independence, and on a deeper level, when we receive something, are we free? Does receiving something like independence make us free? So first of all, receiving is an act. It's a passive act, but it's still an act. It's the act of subduing yourself and your own personal agenda to receive from others. So if someone wants to give you something, you might not want it. Someone might want to give you information. You don't want it. Someone might want to give you a command or an order. You don't want it. Someone also might want to give you money. You're not sure about that. What that's coming with. Someone might want to give you status with responsibility. So when you receive something, are you becoming more free? Really? Now, in Kabbalah, there's always this contradistinction between the giver and the receiver. And the way the whole world is constructed is that the giver is above and the receiver is below, starting with the Creator and working its way down to us. So always keep that paradigm in mind. Anytime we go to receive, if you knock on somebody's door and ask for a gift, you're putting yourself on a lower level. And if you take money out of your pocket and give it out to people, you're putting yourself up on a higher level in this paradigm. And not everybody wants to lower themselves. And other people are afraid to raise themselves up to be the giver. So you see that it's much more complex than we really realize or pay attention to in everyday life. Where's this going in our idea of independence? Well, Atzmaut, the Lashon, the language of Atzmaut comes from Atzma'i, an independent person. And the word Etzim is the essence of a thing. It's also the root of the word for bones, that a person's bones are the skeleton of his physical existence, the structure upon which everything else rests. Atzmut, independence, can also be understood in the context of the word for courage, which is to take fearlessness and make it an active principle in your life. Otzma, as they call it in Hebrew. So, when we talk about independence and the declaration of independence, of course, the state of Israel, like many countries, there is a day where people had enough power to declare we are independent, we are going to govern ourselves. We have a body of laws, we have a set of leaders, we have a set of judges, and a system of self-governance. Now, self-governance is a part of freedom because we don't like to be told what to do, and we certainly don't trust all systems and all other leaders. Seems like a good thing. But when I declare independence from a foreign dominator, like here it was, of course, the British Empire, the last round in a several thousand-year story, it also implies an independence from unwanted influence. and unwanted taxes, for example, and unwanted choices about living, about religion, about economic systems, about social conventions. All of this comes with the package of being under the influence of another nation. So when a nation, a group of people within a nation get together and decide we're going to throw off the dominant power, it's really a very complex situation. And it's not simply just making a declaration and calling it out in the city square and having enough guns to back it up and driving out the former occupiers. But everybody agrees, of course, independence means the autonomy of self-rule. But I was asking myself a question. Okay, this self-rule, we understand we need this as a nation. But do I feel free in the system? Do I feel free? And you have to say, well, you're free in a lot of ways, Avraham. You can get in your car and drive to a yeshiva. You can walk downtown to the kotel. You can head out to the cave of the patriarchs in Hebron, and most days you'll be okay. Of course, some days haven't been so nice. So there are many levels of freedom. I can go to the market and buy food, and almost every day there's food there. So, but are we talking about those physical freedoms? Is that what real independence is about? And as a Jew, of course, I'm going to lay on another layer. A Jew already comes with a self-imposed description of rules that he's taken from an ancient tradition and accepted it into his life. I accept that these look like good things to do. Keep the 10 Commandments, keep the laws of purity, keep the laws of kashrut, keep Shabbat, all the things that we keep, you know. It's like I got a house full of stuff, a spiritual house, right? But as a religious Jew, I'm asking myself, can I really declare independence? Does that sound right? I believe in a creator. I believe that the creator sends me everything I need. I believe he sends me the air I breathe and the lungs that make it breathable and the heart and the blood and the eyesight to hear and sit before this camera. I believe all of these things have been given to me as a gift to do what I need to do here. Can I declare independence from the giver of all these gifts? You know, I could say, well, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. No, sorry. And I've told people that before. The God that they don't believe in, the atheists, I don't believe in that God either. It's not my God. But as a Jew, the idea of being independent is so counterintuitive to the very definitions that we give ourselves. The people of God, the people of the book, the people of the Holy Land, the people that accepted the Torah at Mount Sinai. All these definitions kind of crowd us into a certain space. That you are assigned a mission from a very high place, a place much higher than these 3 dimensions of this world. So can I be independent? Am I really ever independent? I left home. Was I really independent of my parents? Well, more so, but not completely. Am I independent of my teachers, even though I'm not with them? Well, not if I'm following their teachings. So when we talk about freedom and independence, we have to be very careful of our definitions and very clear about what we're talking about. Now, I asked myself some other questions you might find interesting and maybe not, but can millions of people vote responsibly? Really? Can they be trusted to vote according to true information and from a higher source of vision? Can millions of people discern falsehood? Or can millions of people be fooled? Can millions of people clarify and determine the common good of millions of other people? Interesting questions, I think, because I'm not sure about the answers. I could be cynical one day and I'll say, no way. And another day I'll say, well, it has to be. We have to trust something is going to bring the general will to the best for the most of any society. And all this, of course, is to establish what it means to be independent, which, of course, is one of the bywords of democracy. Now, the questions I just asked actually are challenges to our ideas of what is governing and what is political process, as well as the definitions of freedom. And the Torah is very clear. God is our leader. We do not need a human leader. What we need is a human that discerns God's leadership. In any situation, especially the big ones. You know, the big ones in Torah, of course, are going to war, appropriating land, making cities, creating a context of holy marriages and unfortunate divorces. The basic mitzvot that govern a society. The Torah is very clear about these things. God is our leader. And King David was God's chosen leader. King Saul, God said, okay, I'll appoint you a leader according to the one you want. Tall, handsome, wealthy, a good warrior. But I'm not sure about his ability to stand up to the pressure of leadership. And of course, King Shaul, as he's called in Hebrew, is described as a very righteous person, extremely righteous, person that did set out to do God's will. But God understood the inner workings of this person and of every person, and he knew that he wasn't built for the struggles that were going to come and the challenges that he would have to face. So Rabbi Nachman goes along to say that most leaders nowadays, they take leadership by force. Now, force can be money, deception, manipulation. We know all that. But he also says that leaders that take leadership by force have it woven into their nature. They're not entirely responsible for thinking that I should be president. Isn't it obvious I should be, people that want to be president think that way. Now, I guess you have to have a really strong ego, but it would also be good to have some tools to measure yourself honestly with. The Torah comes along with its model of government and leadership. It says, no, choosing a leader is not a political process. It is not hinged on democratic system of the popular vote. In the beginning, it was determined by a prophet who was there to discern God's will again of who God wanted to be the leader. And then later, it was a court of judges who would determine who would be the people to govern and lead the people. It wasn't this idea of every man gets a vote and every man has a right to choose what he wants. It all sounds very good and fair. And it seems to be apparently widespread in the world these days. apparently. But the concept of Torah freedom and Torah independence is succinctly stated in Pirkei Avot by the rabbis. Ein ben chorin ele ben Torah. There is no such thing as a free man unless he has Torah, and in a real way, not an external way. That is to say, the Torah is the thing that sets us free. It's not the thing that binds us. And it's free to exercise true choice, because we're making choices all the time, but a lot of them are decided by our nature, our makeup, our experience, our education. A lot of our choices are not really free choices. They're just automatic responses. A free choice is a measured, valued, weighed, considered, contemplated activity. That's freedom. And with the Torah, you gain those tools to do those things and to choose that way. And ultimately, of course, you want to come to the choice of your higher soul, your spark of God. And that leads you to why the Torah says, Ein ben chorin ben Torah. We need the Torah to be able to get to the freedom to make those choices. And then, do we have independence? You know, it doesn't sit right with me to call myself independent. I'm a 60-year-old man. I'm trying to pay my bills, raise my family like everybody else. Am I independent? Well, I know I'm not independent of God. Absolutely not. But hopefully I'm independent by external forces. And that's what I'm working towards. Independence, Yom Ha'atzmaut, the day of independence from unwanted influence. That to me would be the day of freedom, the day of joy, the day of celebration. So I hope this little discussion clarifies some things. You know, we're working it as we go. And we're going to see you again on all the outlets and platforms. God bless you all. Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach. We'll be here tonight, actually, in a little while on the Lighthouse Torah Project. And we'll be live tomorrow with an Erev Shabbat talk. And then we'll continue our Patreon daily class from Rabbi Nachman. All the best to all of you.